When the C-5A Galaxy originally entered service in 1969, it required a staggering 46 man-hours of maintenance for every hour of flight. As a result, the U.S. Air Force's largest strategic airlifter had the highest operating cost of any weapon systems at the time. No wonder this airplane earned the legendary nickname FRED, which stands for ridiculous economic disaster. That nickname stemmed from the crew's frustration with the aircraft breaking down all the time. You know what they say about the C-5? If it ain't broke, it will be soon. However, as you'll find out, breaking down could be a blessing in disguise. But why the C-5s are more likely to break down in warmer climates, why there is a rope inside Fred's passenger compartment, and what the C-5M Super Galaxy has to do with the AI slop epidemic on social media is not what you think. Without a doubt, Fred is an extremely complex machine. I witnessed this during my exclusive tour of the C-5. There are a lot of moving parts throughout the aircraft, which means a lot can go wrong. For instance, take a look at this insane mechanism of the rear cargo door, which was painfully troublesome during the first 6 years of operation. It took Lockheed over $1.2 billion in additional funding to make the ramp open and close properly. But that was just one of the many problems. For example, the undercarriage system was and remains a big pain in the butt. And not just because landing gear would sometimes fail to retract. Back in 2001, the C-5A's nose landing gear experienced structural failures, where in one instance, it detached from the airplane during takeoff. Even the wings were defective once stress cracks started showing up. In fact, the entire fleet of 76 C-5As had its wings replaced back in the 1980s at a tiny cost, equal to $8.3 billion in today's dollars. It was a total economic disaster, to the point that the media crowned the C-5A as the ultimate symbol of the Pentagon's cost overruns. But fast forward to today, and you could argue that absolutely nothing has changed. Boys will be boys, and so Fred is still an economic disaster. Between 2008 and 2018, the U.S. Air Force spent more than $10 billion to modernize 52 C-5 Galaxy cargo planes into the C-5M Super Galaxy. The money went into the avionics modernization program and reliability enhancement and re-engineering program, all to help the fleet achieve a simple goal: a 75% mission capability rate, similar to the C-17 Globemaster. But despite having some initial success, by 2023, Fred's mission-capable rate was just 46%. That's worse than the reliability of McDonnell's McFlurry machines. According to McBroken.com, currently 14% of all McFlurry machines are broken, giving them an 86% reliability rate. Come on, Fred. But let's do a quick reality check. While bigger airplanes are considerably more expensive to build and operate, the logistics that they enable are a game changer. And I'm not talking about the US military's ability to deploy a fully operational Burger King to remote bases worldwide in 24 hours. Sorry to kill the fun, but an internet meme is just a myth. However, what is not a myth is the C-5's ability to deliver 129 tons of payload, literally anywhere in the world. Let's not take this for granted. The Antonov AN-124 might be the world's largest military cargo plane, but its delivery range is limited because it cannot receive fuel in flight, something that a C-5 can do, while keeping its entire cargo area pressurized. I was lucky to get a VIP tour of the CM5 Galaxy at Miramar Airshow, where the crew showed me a few areas that the general public don't get to see. But let me start with the cargo area. Check this out. The C5 Galaxy's cargo bay is actually 23 feet longer than the first flight of the Wright brothers, a staggering 143 feet long. With so much space, the C5 could easily swallow 6 Apache helicopters, 6 Strykers, or 2 M1A1 tanks. In the Airbus configuration, the Super Galaxy fits 270 passengers in the cargo area, or 12 elephants. Fred can also fit 36 fully loaded 10,000-pound standardized pallets with ease. In fact, the entire floor can be turned into a rollerized conveyor system, so loadmasters can easily push pallets or howitzers without the need for a winch. It's pretty cool. If you've been part of the C5 crew, there is a chance that you've spent some time in Rota, Spain. That's because Fred tends to break down there a lot. In a stroke of pure irony, Rota in Spanish actually means broken. Now, have you ever seen a broken C5 at Minot Air Force Base in North Dakota? Extremely unlikely. The crew would do everything humanly possible to meet the minimum equipment list, the legal document specifying which systems can be inoperable while the airplane is still safe to fly. You see, it's less about the aircraft being broken and more about where it's been reported. Mysteriously, Fred breaks down more often in spots with perfect weather, great hotels, and high per diem rates. Conversely, these planes tend to perform with miraculous perfection in cold, miserable locations like North Dakota or Alaska. And I'm not judging, I live in Canada. Crews swear that the aircraft just wants a vacation. But there is actually some technical validity to why Fred tends to die under the sun. Those older avionics and hydraulic systems are incredibly sensitive to extreme heat. Combine that with the Embedded Diagnostic System, or EDS, monitoring over 7,000 test points, and you have a million ways for faulty error codes to pop up. Breaking down in Hawaii isn't a failure. It's the C5's secret weapon to score a few extra days of relaxation on the government's dime. It is the legendary warm weather Red Ball. Back to the C5 tour. A skinny ladder leads to the forward upper deck, featuring a cockpit which seats a 6-person crew. There's additional space for 7 relief crew and 8 seats for dignitaries. There are even 2 bunk rooms with 3 beds each. At the back of the airplane, a hidden ladder takes 12 seconds to drop from the ceiling. This leads to the troop compartment with 73 rear-facing seats, plus 2 more for loadmasters. There are no windows in the upper deck, but there is an emergency exit, which the crew opened for me after I promised I won't jump out of it. I did stick the camera out as far as I could. There are kitchens and bathrooms back here. But what's this rope for? That's so people can slide down if the stairs fail to open, which must have happened a few times. Both upper decks are pressurized, but what's behind the circular hatch is not. This is called the hayloft. It's a large void space, and might be hard to tell, but this area is larger than the cargo bay of a C-130 Hercules. That said, the space is basically useless since it's not pressurized and is also packed with control cables for the empennage. The hayloft also features a walkway toward the ladder that leads to the top of the tail of the aircraft. You know what else breaks a lot? The undercarriage. Fred has 28 wheels, each 4 feet in diameter. It took 3 times longer to design the gear retraction system than the rest of the aircraft, or at least so the old legend goes. This is because the tires have to rotate 90 degrees in order to fit inside the sponsons. The C5 can also kneel, so it can take loads from both ends, hence its other lesser-known nickname, Linda Lovelace. But jokes aside, kneeling is an essential capability when loading long wheel or truck-based equipment, as it reduces the angle of the forward or aft ramps. Plus, it allows the C5 to bounce. The thing is, all these capabilities come hand in hand with complexities, which are prone to breakdowns or fires. Like in this example, when immediately after landing, Fred's brakes caught on fire. The tires have zero threats, just rain channels, because more rubber means more traction, but less fun. Since the Super Galaxy can carry more than 280,000 pounds, each time the behemoth lands, the tires wear down approximately 0.002 inches. This means that a few times per week, Fred has to be lifted up using hydraulic jacks in order to change tires or perform brake maintenance. When a C5 is not on jacks, it simply means the maintenance crew are out of jacks. But if jacks are not available, each bogie can be raised individually for wheel maintenance, or to keep the bogie away from the ground when landing if it fails to rotate when extended. But you know what doesn't break on the Super Galaxy? The engines. That's because during the refurbishment process, new General Electric CF6 engines were installed. While each CF6 engine produces 22% more thrust, providing 30% shorter takeoff and 38% higher climb rate, not everyone was happy about this change. You see, the older General Electric TF39 engines produce the most iconic, horrendous, buzzsaw, high-pitched sound that aviation fans absolutely loved. Now compare that to the newer engines. That's right, kids. Remember what they took from us. But it gets worse, much worse. You better sit down. The General Electric CF6 engines are so reliable that they're not just used on aircraft like the C5M and the Boeing 747. For example, the CF6's Marine Edition, the LM-2500, powers the US Navy's Arleigh-class destroyers and Ticonderoga-class cruisers. But it doesn't stop there. The CF6 engine is what powers the LM6000 gas turbine used for power generation, because it can start up in 5 minutes, provides over 99% reliability, and generates 57 megawatts of power. That's a lot of power. And you know who needs a lot of power? The AI data centers, which have to wait years to connect to the grid due to electricity shortages. As a result, the AI data centers have started buying gas turbines like the LM6000 to power their computers. Yep, the Super Galaxy and the AI slop are both taken off by the same engines, the General Electric CF6. What's scarier is that just like with the RAM shortages, there is now shortage of jet engines. The AI data centers are not only buying years of production, but also dipping into second-hand markets. The C5 Galaxy is an airframe designed in the 1960s with a lot of technology tacked into it, like the ability to take off from dirt runways while the runway is in the process of taking off itself. The C5 was ahead of its time, but now that the average age of the C5M fleet is about 40 years old, it is impossible to keep up with all the maintenance and upgrades. Of course, the US Air Force realizes that, which is why they lowered the mission-capable rate from 75% to 55% as part of the Drive to 55 campaign. And yet, they failed, because in 2024, the C5's mission-capable rate was only 48.6%. The program managers blamed this on parts shortages due to vanishing vendor syndrome, and are not necessarily wrong. All the parts that can be stripped from retired aircraft have already been taken. But the bigger reason is that the C-5 fleet was cut in half, from 126 to 52. And when you downsize the fleet, all the rest gets smaller too. There are less parts, a smaller supplier pool, and fewer people to perform maintenance. While the C-17 has over 75% mission-capable rate, it has a fleet 5 times larger than that of the C-5 Galaxy, and correspondingly more parts and people to fix it. But even then, despite all the breakdowns, Fred is expected to fly for another 20 years as the replacement for the C-5 and the C-17. The next generation airlifter is not expected to reach initial operational capability until 2041.